The older I get, the more I visit medical centers. And the other morning, as I approached the medical center on Liberty Street, I couldn't believe how full the parking lot was. To give you a perspective, it was like Market Basket on a Saturday or a Sunday, just when you go. I know there are a lot of people with the flu and other problems, but still, it reminded me of how our human condition is one that contracts illnesses. And so we go to the doctors, we get our tests, we begin treatments, we trust in those who care for us to help us to heal. In today's gospel, we follow Jesus from the synagogue to the house of Simon and Andrew, along with James and John. That too reminded me of how on Sundays, they used to be, going to 10:30 Mass, and then later on visiting family or friends on a Sunday. Now, as Jesus enters their home, he's told immediately of Simon's mother-in-law's illness. I know you know this, but back then there were no urgent care centers to go to on a day when this would happen. And the fact that she was lying in bed with a fever tells you that it was serious. Without antibiotics, people often died from infections. But Simon and his family believed in Jesus' ability, his ability to heal those who were sick. And so they turned to him for their loved one. And unlike our doctors who need to examine, order tests, and then offer treatment, Jesus knows the problem. And through his grasping her hand and helping her up, he heals her immediately. And her cure was complete, as I said, to the point of being able to wait on them right after she had gotten out of her sickbed. Understandably, those who were present were overjoyed, and to the point of telling others who had relatives and friends who also needed Jesus' healing. And this included those who were possessed by demons, those people who were battling for their spiritual lives. All this made me wonder, have we personally witnessed the healing power of Jesus, either for ourselves or for loved ones? It might have been as dramatic as Simon's mother-in-law, but most often it's on a smaller scale. And if we have, did we tell others about it? Were we so joy-filled that we spoke to others about the healing power of Jesus? As many of you have heard me say, I used to be a physical therapist. I saw lots of people dealing with illness. And my job back then was to help regain range of motion, strength, balance, and endurance to go on with their lives. And often while talking to them, there was a spiritual and a relational dimension that affected their health. And they happened to share it with me. And as I would listen, I would ask them if they wanted me to pray for them. And if they opened the door, I would suggest that they would speak to a priest, a minister, or a rabbi to help them in their spiritual and relational health. The people who I met who had faith in Jesus, even if they were wrestling with it, looked at their physical problems and limitations differently than others. Those people had hope that was based on their belief that Jesus could help them to heal and to cope. And now, as a priest, I hear about challenges with people's relationships with God and with their loved ones first. And sometimes they also tell me about their cranky knees and their backs too. I tell them about Jesus. I tell them about Jesus wanting to help them to heal and to find peace. Sometimes by visiting them in the person of Christ, the priest coming to give them the sacrament of the sick. Sometimes through their praying for one another, praying together as family and friends. But you know, this brings us back to where we began, at the beginning of this gospel passage, and also where it ends. Jesus, James, and John, and Andrew had come from the synagogue before they entered Simon and James' home. And before Jesus and the others continued to preach and to drive out demons, Jesus enters into prayer. My brothers and sisters, As we face the challenges in our lives, whether they are physical, spiritual, or psychological, Jesus is reaching out to us to help us to heal, to help us to find the strength and the hope through his presence in our lives, through prayer and the sacraments that we are blessed to receive when we need them the most. May God bless you all on this day, and let us continue to pray and to seek the healing power of Jesus.